A diary from a high-ranking Nazi officer was kept hidden for 75 years and nobody was told why. When experts finally fed it to AI, it started naming places, gold, secret shafts, and people who were killed so they could never talk. It matched real SS orders almost word for word, but a few lines looked like someone changed them after the war. That means someone tried to keep part of this story buried. So what was so dark in those pages that even today people want it quiet? In 2019, a German Masonic lodge in Quedlinburg handed over a lead-lined box to a Polish-German research group. Inside was a wartime diary written in early 1945 in Lower Silesia. The pages were not about feelings. They were about trucks, wells, escort teams, and men who did not leave the sites they worked on. The writer said he was an SS officer named Egon Allenhauer. He wrote between January and May when the Red Army was closing in and when the SS was rushing to hide things that could not fall into Soviet hands. It was the kind of writing that sounds flat until you realize what it is really describing. Every line was about moving value and erasing witnesses. German experts checked the paper, the ink, and the style. They said it matched wartime SS material. The paper came from a maker that supplied the SS. The handwriting looked like it belonged to someone trained in German staff work. The phrases sounded like real late-war traffic. German historians called it authentic and said it was an important find. That should have settled it, but it did not. Because if it was real, it meant someone had sat on evidence of Nazi theft and murder for 75 years. Polish officials were more careful. They said the diary had to pass more tests, like carbon dating and deeper ink checks, before they would call it fully real. They were right to be careful. If the diary really showed that SS units hid Reichsbank gold and killed people on Polish ground, then Poland would have to act. That means digging near old estates, opening possible graves and getting into arguments over who owns what. It also means stepping into cases where the money did not just come from banks but from people who were deported and never came back. The group that kept the diary for so long said they did not want to provoke that fight. They said they had kept it hidden because it could cause political trouble, and that they were now giving it up as a gesture. That story is hard to prove. What can be proved is this. The diary should have been in an archive right after the war. Instead it lived in a private box for 75 years. That gap made everybody nervous. If it sat in private hands, could someone have added lines, cut lines, or softened blame? That was the fear on the Polish side. So scholars did what they could. They typed every word and ran it through AI trained on real Nazi orders from 1944 and 1945. They wanted to see if this was just a clever fake. The result shocked them. It said the diary matched real SS language almost perfectly. It even picked up the habit of using cold code words for killings, the same way Operation Reinhard records did. It also found 3 phrases that did not match, which means someone may have touched the text later. If that is true, then the writer was inside real operations in the last weeks. If the writer was inside, then why did he make a record that could expose secret sites and killings? Was it a log for people to come back later? Was it meant for a post-war network? Or was it kept back because it named people still protected after 1945? So if the document looks real and if it was kept out of public view on purpose, what was inside it that someone did not want found yet? Language experts can tell a lot. They can see if a person learned German in school or in the army. They can see if a person was from Prussia or from the south. But they cannot compare one diary to tens of thousands of SS telegrams and reports at once. AI can. That is why the researchers used natural language models trained only on verified SS files, Reichsbank shipping papers, art seizure reports, camp transport notes and late-war coded messages. The model said the diary was 96% in line with SS writing from the exact period it claimed. That alone made forgery unlikely. A forger would have to master staff German, late-war abbreviations and the dry way the SS hid killing in normal words. Most forgers do not do that. They make the text too dramatic. This text was cold. Then came the part human eyes had skipped. The AI found 3 short parts where the language changed. The sentence order shifted. The choice of words was from a slightly later time. Those parts talked about blowing up a well, about witnesses being murdered and about a number of trucks. That told the team that someone had probably touched the diary after 1945. Not to invent the whole story, but to make some parts harder to trace. AI also checked the diary against lists of known sites. It found that the way the writer described places sounded like someone talking to people who already knew the estates and parks. He never gave a full town name. He said the well, the palace, the eastern grounds. That is how insiders talk when they are recording a job for later pickup. It is not how people write fiction. The machine also tried to time the edits. It could not give an exact year, but it said the style of the suspect lines looked more like German from the 50s or even later. That supports the story that the diary sat in private hands and that someone with access tried to soften or divert attention from a few key spots. Maybe to hide a name. Maybe to hide a number. Maybe to put treasure hunters on the wrong spot. So the AI gave a split answer. The core was real. The skeleton of the text matched real SS work. But someone touched a few bones. That means there was a reason to keep it quiet. If the name in the diary does not appear in SS files, then who was actually behind it? If AI can tell the diary is real, can it also tell us who really wrote it? The biggest hole in the story was the man who signed it. There is no SS officer named Egon Allenhauer in the lists from Berlin, from captured SS archives or from post-war trials. Nothing in Nuremberg. Nothing in the files of Allied intelligence. Nothing in the camp command records. A real officer who knew Reichsbank routes, art storage sites and liquidation orders should show up in at least one of those. He does not. That means the name was likely a cover. So the team did what they had done with the text. They asked AI to match the diary's writing style against tens of thousands of real SS writers. The closest match was to men who worked near the center, not out in the field. One was Richard Schulze, who was close to Hitler. Another was Wilhelm Hottel, an SS intelligence man who later told courts about plans to move assets out of Central Europe. Their exact hands did not match, but their thinking and their phrasing did. The diary also mentioned a man called Michaelis. That name is suspicious. It turns up around tasks where witnesses had to be removed. When AI searched SS material for Michaelis in that role, the nearest match was a code name tied to Odilo Globoknik, the man who ran Operation Reinhard and who used forced labor to dig, unload, and then die. AI could not prove it was him. But the link was strong enough to say this. The diary was written by a man inside the same inner circle that did the biggest killing program. Then the model looked at the name of Gunther Grundmann. That was a real person. He was Himmler's art man. He moved paintings, icons, relics, and cultural goods to hidden sites. His reports survive. When AI put his inspected sites on a map and then put the diary's vague sites on top, 5 matched. That meant that the man who wrote the diary knew Grundmann's rounds. Maybe he rode with him. Maybe he added cargo to places that were already being used for art. That is how you hide gold. You put it with objects that have to be handled gently and you let the art inventory cover the metal inventory. Taken together, the picture is clear. The badge name in the diary is false. The real writer was someone high enough to know transport schedules, art routes, vaults inside estates and the rule that no worker who saw a sealed well was to live. That is why AI called the name a mask. So if the name was false and the places were real, did the diary point to a single hoard, or to a whole system that some people hoped to reclaim after the war? One of the most quoted lines in the diary said that crates of coins, bars and damaged jewelry were lowered into a deep shaft on the grounds of Hochburg Palace and that the well was blown up and filled when the job was done. For years people read that and assumed the site was destroyed. No shaft, no gold, no proof. AI did not accept the line at face value. It ran wording from the diary against real German combat engineer reports. Real demolition reports had a clear order. They listed charge type, placement, detonation, clearance, and backfill. This diary line used the right words but in the wrong order. That made the AI flag it. Then ground teams used radar over the spot that matched the diary's 100 meters east of the palace steps. They did not see blast damage. They saw a neat plug. That means the shaft was capped, not smashed. A cap means someone wanted to come back. A blast means no one was supposed to ever return. That single detail shifts the whole purpose of the burial from destruction to long-term hiding. Once that was clear, the rest of the line about killed workers looked different too. The diary said that once the gold was safe, the men were murdered. Many historians once thought that was bragging. AI compared that sentence to orders from Sobibor and Belzec. It was almost the same wording used when laborers who had handled evidence were to be shot. That means the diary was telling the truth in the most terrible part. It also means the killers wanted the shaft to stay usable but wanted the people who knew about it to disappear. Polish records from the 1990s show that a mass grave near that palace was found and logged as unknown wartime dead. AI matched the soil, the depth and the timing to the diary entry. It is very possible that the grave is full of the same men who loaded the shaft. That changes the value of the site. It is now a crime scene and a burial place and a possible vault at the same time. That is why modern investigators cannot just send in treasure hunters. Please subscribe channel.